Often the lens needs adjusting, not the landscape. Hello, and welcome to another episode of My Life with MS. I a few things we can go over from past information that was sent to me that we'll go through. That was a little quote from Leo Lords from A World of Yoga 700 Asanas for Mindfulness and Well-Being. Uh, any new updates? Not really. Nothing new since the last episode that really happened. Getting used to wrapping my legs, doing all that stuff that the doctor taught me how to do. See what my next appointment next week has to offer from that. Other than that, my MS neurologist appointment got bumped up one more week, so that's not far off. It's about 6-7 weeks off from now, so hopefully we'll come across that with good results. But I don't know. It seems like we're just not recovering like we were from issues a month ago or 2 months ago or 3 months ago. It just, you can tell things are slowing way down. I'm still suffering from the Comic-Con, not having any seating or anything like that. And my ribs, it's down to just my right side now, is all busted, beaten, and bruised. Feel like I got bruised or broken ribs. Whenever you breathe or bend or move, you're getting that severe pains right through there. So gonna have to see if that starts to dissipate ever. Some the other problems with the legs and the feet and the back and all that, those are still pretty much about the same. So things just are not going back to the normal pain. They're staying in the intense pain areas, and you gotta worry about that because that could lead to a exasperation or a relapse of some symptoms or set off some new symptoms or who knows what. So we'll see. I'm definitely looking forward to my next appointment, meet my new neurologist, and see what his opinion is and whether or not I'm going to end up on a DMT. And I think I will end up on one, but we're going to definitely go for one that's a B cell depleter style DMT and see if we can't keep wiping out and recovering our cells until they get to where they need to be. That's we're not going to ever probably have the chance to do stem cell research or anything like that. And so far from the results that I've seen, not really overly positive yet. I have yet to see a person that's gone through it and actually showed me physical evidence. I'm sick of hearing through the grapevine how people are doing. It's like I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. I want to see how they're doing. So we're just not getting that, which is kind of sad because there were so many people that were like, "Well, I'm gonna take you on my journey with stem cell, and we're gonna see how it goes." And all of a sudden, at least the ones I was following, it just disappeared or ended, or you don't hear nothing else from them. So I don't know where the people are at, but we'll see what happens. I know recently Selma Blair said she's in remission and all this stuff, but I just seen her not long ago, and she was still having lots of issues that she was having before the stem cell, the way I seen it. But I could be wrong. Could have been old footage or something else. Who knows? Let's see. What do we have that we can talk about from our files today and get through some of these files and clean out all our stuff. This is a big one, a big proponent for me that I've been focusing on and trying to. I still want to write a whole review report, get some deep research done, find out as much as I possibly can. I'd like to interview at least 100 different MSers from different stages, from relapsing to secondary to progressive, chronic, isolated syndrome, all that, and see where they feel their MS started, when it started, what happened around when it started, and all that. But they're finally starting to talk about childhood trauma being an MS risk. And excuse me, take a little sip of water here, clean out the throat. If you got it, drink it. Good for you. As much as you can in a day. Well, not as much as you can. You can overdo it with water too. Just quickly with that, just watch your pee color. And if your color is clear, you're getting too much water. You want it a light yellow. You want to be completely cleaned out. So, still want those nutrients pouring out and all that stuff from your body. See where your body's at, but if you get really dark and stuff like that, then you got to watch it and boost up your water intake and or liquid intakes of certain things. Just do what you can to definitely keep an eye on things and just, I mean, our body tells us a lot of the things we need to know when it comes to issues. We just gotta watch, listen, and hear what our body's trying to tell us. But there's apparently a bunch of studies that suggest a connection between childhood trauma and multiple sclerosis, from earlier symptom onset to potentially poorer outcomes. But, like, of course, they say they need more and more research. That's why I'd gladly, if I could get a grant, I would have a whole thing that I've been putting together that I'd love to go around, at least start out with around the US and then maybe travel overseas and stuff for a second. Uh, second, not a book, a second report about childhood trauma and symptoms and the connection and all that. I believe my MS started with an event that happened around when I was 5 years old. And ever since then, I had tons of issues in my childhood that I can definitely relate to being possible MS related. But no one would listen to you when you're a kid, especially when you're growing up in the 80s, 70s, and 80s and stuff. And it was more just quit your whining, get off your ass, do this, do that, be like everybody else. Everybody else can do it, you can do it. Everybody's tired, everybody's sore. It's like, yeah, it was. We've been better off talking to a wall than actually talking to adults and trying to get help back in the day. It was sad back then. And then if you went on about it, then people would just start punching you in the arm and just shoving you around, picking on you, and just giving you a hard time. So you just shut up about it and live with it. And that's pretty much what we had to do back in the day. It's like adults were more into spitting out kids, and then once the kids got to a certain age, it's like, get the hell out of the house, come back home at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, or come home for dinner, and then dinner's done. If you don't have chores, get the hell out of the house again. It's like, well, why did you have kids if you don't want them around you in the first place? I mean, it's just so stupid. But I truly believe things from head damage, injuries, sicknesses in our childhood, uh, sexual drama, uh, any type of strange event that could have definitely got our bodies amped up to a point that all the adrenaline, all the body fluid and changes that are caused by the traumas could have set off certain types of things that could have led into MS becoming a disease inside any one of us. But like they always say, still need more research. Even once they have the research, they'll put stuff out, and then the research will keep going. They'll change the results over and over throughout the years. But I'd love to talk to a variety of people and just find out when that moment was, what first started, what first happened, and how it happened, and why, what would have happened around it that could have possibly caused it. So it's something we definitely need to look more into. I also think there's stressors in the teenage years. I mean, kids just get ridiculous with the types of head trauma and stuff that they cause on their bodies. I mean, head banging, head butting, breaking things over their heads, and just all these things are messing with the fluids in your skull, and your brain's just floating in those fluids, and then it's bouncing around, and it can cause more and more issues and scarring and manipulation of the veins, I would assume, and who knows what else. I just feel that a lot of those things are strong issues that could have set things off for people at a certain age. Um, Car accidents. I mean, I had a dirt bike accident where I hit a big rock head on when I wasn't looking, and I ended up Supermaning it, flying through the air face first, and then came down on the pavement. I was out in a field coming up out of the ditch, and when I hit the rock, I flew over the onto the road and came down face first with my left arm. My left arm curled underneath my body, and bone stuck out. Part of the stuck out in the wrist area, just above the wrist area, and face is all this shredded blood coming out. Neighbor dad pulls up alongside me and my two buddies that were on our way to swimming class at the time when we were cut across the field and this all happened. And they're holding me, sitting with me, and I'm all bloodied up. And the neighbor dad yells at us and says we shouldn't be fooling around. Someone might take us seriously. It's like, dude, I'm in tears. I'm covered in blood. What more do you want? I got a bone sticking out my arm, which he obviously didn't see the bone. Well, you could easily see my face, and it was pretty bad. Finally, one of my buddies, got to the family, which we weren't too far down the road, a few blocks down the road, and got a hold of my family, and my sister came down to pick me up, and she had her firstborn kid in the back seat, sitting in a baby seat, and I got in the car and he seen my face and started screaming. But yeah, it's like that neighbor dad felt bad, and when I was back home after surgery and all that stuff and recovering with my broken arm and everything, he came and apologized and gave me a bunch of goodies to kiss my butt for pulling that crap when he should have just helped me out of the ditch. And I mean, I could have, if it would have been worse, it would have been a vein or something that was damaged. I would have bled out and died before anybody would have got to me. Thankfully, it was just cuts and scratches that were ripping, that were all my faces. And I still have a permanent scar that goes down from my nose down over my lip where that was ripped open and all that stuff. And yeah, got some pictures somewhere. Now we had some fun events after because I don't know, about a month after it all happened, we went up north, and when we were up north, we stopped at Jim Peck's Wildwood, and you get to go in the fence and play with all the animals, the skunks, the squirrels, the porcupines, otters, the deer, the every type of wild animal from the Midwest that you can think of, they have up there, and now they even have African animals and all that stuff in there. They have a variety of different environments of animals from around the world. But yeah, you go in there and you just sit there and let a hold a skunk, pet a porcupine, all that stuff. I had ferrets that I was playing with, and uh, they were just sitting on my cast, and all of a sudden the one ran up and latched onto this ear and bit through my ear. It's just I was not having good luck that year. But it's like studies examining the relationship between traumatic childhood stressors and adult health outcomes continue to garner much interest. Uh, this is contributed by the field by examining the state of the peer-reviewed literature linking these stressors and multiple sclerosis and its disease features. Let's see, these are all still based off studies from the past, but some studies used a range of measures to assess childhood trauma. Some used standardized assessments like Childhood Trauma Questionnaire, Short Form, CTQ, or Stress and Adversity Inventory, which is STRAIN, STRAIN, while others used their own questionnaires or analyzed information available in databases. Each study reported on 2 to 9 specific forms of adverse childhood experiences, most commonly physical or sexual abuse. Many of the studies in this review examined a limited number of traumatic stressors and did not capture additional information such as the severity, duration, or frequency. Thus, they are likely underestimating relationships between childhood trauma and MS. I mean, I don't think there has to be a certain amount of times a child goes through some type of trauma for it to set it off. I believe it could be set off the first time, the third time, whenever. I really don't think they have to pinpoint it to just a certain amount of stressors to set the thing off. I mean, a lot of these studies, they go into things that make no sense. It's like just focus on what the causes are from and what's causing them, and look at that format and what the person went through at that time where they feel that their MS begin around. A large majority of the studies did not give a non-binary gender option, which I don't care. If you know me, I'm not a doctor. You got to talk to your own doctors about everything. But I feel gender specifics, race specifics, all that crap. We constantly hear it. 1 minute it was if you're female, you're more likely to get MS. And I know a ton of males, so and there's tons of males that have it. And there's just people of a certain culture, and then people of a certain race, and then all this. And it's like I mean, reading all these reports and stuff, many of us have those same exact issues, and we may not be part of the group that they're talking about. Like, let's just focus on human beings having this stuff. And we do talk now that you can have binary, non-binary, all these different choose your sex things, and but yet it identifies back that we're all both sexes in the womb, and then we form however, and it's just so either way we have the genetics of both sexes, and so does that really matter? Ethnicities, it might depend on your vitamin D culture. That's about it. I don't think you're really seeing much else because of the different groups and stuff. I think we're all very similar in one way, shape, or form, and we should just focus on finding the cure and getting the answers instead of constantly doing more and more studies and breaking the studies up in different ways. And it just, yeah, it just too much wasted time and money focusing on separating a thing instead of just focusing each study, each concept that could possibly be MS related, and just focus on that ideal and not breaking it down so much. Because if you read as many reports as I have, there's not too many reports out there that haven't been similar and they've changed their point of view over and over, and things have changed. And we've seen it. Everybody's seen it. And you go out there and bread's bad, then bread's okay, and it's a part of a food group, and then meat's good for you. Just eat meat and cheese, live off meat and cheese. Oh, the guy that came up with that thing died earlier in life than he should have. Oh, I wonder why. Oh, you're on that diet, just eating meat and cheese, and you haven't shit in a week. Yeah, that makes sense because cheese could constipate you and stuff. It's like there's all these different styles of diets, different views and points and stuff. It's like do what your body tells you and just listen to it. And that's the way I look at it. It's like eat something. If it doesn't agree with you, don't ever eat it again. Drink something. Doesn't agree with you, don't ever drink it again. And your body will tell you if it's not benefiting it in one way, shape, or form. Uh, see, considering that rates of both MS and traumatic stressors vary by gender, it should be expected that gender data be collected with it. Oh, that's looking into the non-binary option also, but it should be. You shouldn't have to worry whether it's male and female. All genders should be evaluated. And then you can do sub-analyses by separating them and stuff, the results if you want, but they should all just be uh, evaluated in the same group and then broken down instead of doing study after study, separating all the studies. And then I think we'd be spending less money on studies and getting more results. Now we could put that towards the cures and fixing things. But most studies made statistical adjustments to account for variations in age and ethnicity. So yeah, it's just going on and on about that. But most of the studies assessed in the review cautiously support a relationship between childhood trauma and MS or its clinical features. So they do agree with it, but they want to keep doing more and more studies to see what happens, see where it goes. But seriously think it's a big proponent to figure out what's setting things off. I believe we all have the abilities to have certain diseases. It just has to be triggered and set off before anything's going to happen that you're going to notice and end up finding by getting diagnosed with something later on in life. So definitely keep an eye on certain things, write things down, keep a diary, it helps. And they got heart medication. Digoxin helps with remyelination in early studies. This is a result in 2022, a study thing, but it was a trial of the digoxin, Digoxin, and its myelin repair potential being planned for MS patients on DMTs. I haven't heard that name for a DMT, so it's got to be used somewhere else. Its digoxin is an approved medication for certain heart conditions. It promoted the repair of myelin, a protective sheath for we know it, the protective sheath around the nerve fibers that is progressively lost in multiple sclerosis. This was done in mouse models of the disease. Combining digoxin with an experimental immune modulating therapy was more effective at promoting myelin repair or remyelination than either treatment on its own. They were doing a phase 1 trial back then with some disease modifying therapies and testing it out. One screening suggested that digoxin, a medication approved for heart failure and irregular heartbeat, may have remyelination promoting properties. It's sold under the brand name Lanoxin. Digoxin also is available in generic forms. They were conducting a series of tests to explore its potential of remyelination therapy, but I haven't heard nothing new about it. And if this came out in 2022, I'm guessing we had mouse results, but no human results, or very little research to suggest anything yet. They first examined the medication's effect on oligodendrocytes, which are the cells chiefly responsible for making myelin in the brain and spinal cord. Experiments done in lab dishes indicated that treating immature oligodendrocyte progenitor cells, OPCs, with digoxin prompted these cells to mature into myelin-making oligodendrocytes. So that's promising. I'd like to see more of it, but they are using digoxin and PLG-MOG are ideal for combination therapy because of their independent mechanisms of action, ameliorating different steps of the disease process and mutual potential effects. Yeah, I'll see if I can find some newer results of those studies. See if I can get some deeper information on it. Who knows? I think we would have heard more if they had positive results. And personally, I don't. Trials on mice, I think rats, mice, and you're really not getting the human aspects. So I don't know whether or not those results are even worthy of going off of, but I'll see if I can find any other results from that test and other tests like it. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to have to let you go. Rate, review, tell a friend, subscribe, keep following us at Under the Color of MS. We got YouTube, Instagram, audio, video podcast. I'm doing these YouTube podcasts now instead of doing the old style audio podcast. I couldn't get their audio or video to work anymore, so figured what the heck, I'll try and see if I can get just as many followers through YouTube. Hopefully bring some of my followers over from my audio, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll get back with more of this soon. Probably wasn't too exciting, but just getting through some files, cleaning up my computer, and as I do, I might as well talk about whatever I have piled up that people keep sending me. So, all right, we'll get back to you again soon. Take care. Have a great weekend.